Did you know that during the space race in the 60s, NASA scientists realized that pen could not function in space? So they needed to figure out another way for the astronaut to write things down. They spent years and millions of dollars to develop a pen that could write in space. But did you know that legend has it that while the Americans spent millions, the Soviets simply gave their astronauts pencils? Well, some might say it's not a real story, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the moral of this story. Perfect and complete solutions are great, but sometimes simple ones are good enough. In this talk, I'd like to share with you an experience we had in Wix Bookings, where we aimed for a complex solution for a problem we had, and it took us a while until we realized that we can provide a much simpler solution with compromises. Hi, I am Noah Korkus. Thank you. 7 years at Wix Bookings. I started as a front-end developer and later became a team lead. Today I'm in the process of transitioning to back-end development. And this is my first talk ever. As you can see, I'm very excited. Okay, so let me give you the background for our story. When I go to beauty salon to dye my hair, I usually also get a haircut. So I would prefer to schedule one booking, and of course, I want the haircut to happen right after the hair dye. Can you believe that a few months ago you could not do that with the booking flow? You had to go through the flow twice, and you couldn't guarantee that your slot would happen one after the other. So recently, we released a feature called multi-service appointment that will allow you to do just that. As you can see in the video, the user starts from the service list, picks all the services they want, along with preferences like location, staff, and sometimes different price. And then they are being moved to the calendar page to select one date and time. It was a complicated feature, and we needed, and I want to share with you the thinking process that we went through to solve one of the challenges. So we needed a way to pass all the services selection from the service list to the calendar page. We could have used session storage, but that would mean that user could not share links to the. But that would mean that user could not create direct links to the calendar page with pre-selected data, so they could not share links with social media. So we needed to pass all the selection in the URL. In that case, our task is to design a URL API for the calendar page that will be used in the navigation flow from the list to the calendar and could be used by user wanting direct links to create direct links to the calendar page. You're probably asking yourself, what's the problem? Just pass all the data in the URL with some encoding, right? It seemed like the obvious solution, and of course, this was the first option that came up. But it's not that simple. As you saw in the video, user can select multiple services along with preference for each, and each data is represented with GUID, and that can create a very long URL. And if a URL is longer than around 2K, it might not load properly or cause some issues in some browser. So all of this led us to a backend service solution. Any client can call this service to save the user selections. It will get back a GUID. With this GUID, it will create a calendar page URL. The calendar page will then take the GUID from the URL, will call this backend service, and will get back the service selection. So we found the perfect solution that answers all use cases. Amazing. And then we started designing it. But of course, during the design, a few issues came up. With this solution, the first server call that the calendar page makes is to this backend service, and nothing else can be loaded before that, so it could impact performance of the page. What about the resiliency of the page? If the server call fails, so nothing can be loaded on a screen. at this stage, we thought to split it to two solutions. For the navigation flow, which is a main use case, we will use session storage. And for direct link, we will expose a backend service. Not so good. At this stage, we raised the red flag. After 2 offsite and too many meetings, we understood that we need to rethink our approach. We decided to have a meeting with platformization team. And after we displayed our possible solution, he asked us, why did you make it so complicated? Then we saw the light. Thank you, Dan. Keep it simple, stupid. We realized that we don't really need this complexity. We understood that developing a backend service would provide a complete solution for less than 1% of our users, but would have complicated the other 99%, our product, code, and API. Therefore, we choose simplicity over completeness. So here is the final solution. We will do use URL encoding, but now we will have a fallback and compromises. In the navigation flow, if the URL encoding reaches a 2K limit, so the service list will put the data on session storage, and the calendar page will know how to handle it. And we will do document API that will use the same URL encoding with the risk that the URL might break if the limitation is exceeded. And of course, this will be documented in the API as well. While this approach provides a solution for direct link, we acknowledge it's not 100% complete. There might be users that will want to create links with extensive pre-selected data. And in that case, they will need to create their own custom calendar page with their own link, and they can easily do that with the app reflow feature. So let's summarize what we gained. We achieved a much simpler solution, product, code, and API. We didn't impact the performance or the resiliency of the page. We don't need to monitor or maintain a new backend service, and of course, we save cost. So if there is one thing I would like you to take from this session, that it was investing time from the very beginning in finding simple solution with the compromises you are willing to live with. And if you find yourself falling in love with a cleaner and perfect and complete solution that getting too complex, then you should zoom out and ask yourself if this complexity is justified. Sometimes there is no way out of complex solution, but the time spent looking for simplicity will be worth it. Thank you for listening, and thanks everyone for this opportunity. If you have any question or thought, or if you would like to hear the whole story because I only had time to tell you part of it, then feel free to contact me.